Yo, welcome to the Music Life Social Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Raheem, aka Big Heem.
You know what's good? This Rob Villa, Double S, repping the
Yeah, what
Music
it
Life
look like
Social as
is
well.
G Wiz in the house. My first.
We got another hot show for you this evening. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be talking about, the Trump tariffs and what they're doing up in Washington, D.C., and the tariffs that they are levying against Canada. So the 25% markup went into effect the other day on steel and aluminum with Canada. So that did go into effect. Well, his reasoning is because it's a high volume of fentanyl coming across the northern border, which has been debunked. Also, what was that? 'Cause I wrote some notes down on this. You know, he talked about how Canada has unfairly put 200% tariffs on American products during Biden's term, but that's not true either because the level has not been changed. And the only 200% tariffs on U.S. dairy products are only triggered if the U.S. dairy exports exceed certain yearly duty-free limits. And the U.S. dairy manufacturers have never been close to exceeding these limits. Those are those words. Those are their words. That's what they said. Now, get this. The original tariffs were negotiated during the U.S. Mexico Canada agreement, which Trump signed in 2020, and it has not been changed, even when Biden was in office. I don't know what the reasoning is that behind these tariffs because Canada is one of our best allies. So I don't know what the true gain of this is. Especially if there's not a huge trade deficit and there's not a large volume of fentanyl coming across the northern border. What's the end game? I don't know.
Yeah, because he basically trying to rectify, like, hey, first of all, he's really talking about both sides of the border, North and South, Canada and Mexico. It's like, hey, we're getting a lot of illegal immigrants here, but at the same time, we're giving y'all a tax break on exports. But at the same time, he's like, hey, we want, first of all, it's not going to the immigrant issue, but like a lot of stuff is happening where the immigrants are coming in, or for some, I say all of them, but the majority of them are committing crimes and ripping the benefits, as far as with tax benefits, and like not paying tax. Basically, it's like, hey, we automatically we giving y'all a break on our exports, but at the same time, y'all taxing us on y'all imports. So it's like, hey, something got to give. And then on top of that, I was doing some research through the sources from the Tax Foundation. So he did create a tax. His as far as his tariffs, it started in 2018, but then in 20, when it went into effect, I guess in 2020 or whatnot, the Trump administration only generated tax. It was like $244 billion. And not no $233 billion. Let me correct myself. And now that $233 billion that were generated parts with tax that the U.S. got, 89 million was under the Trump administration, and 144 billion was under the Biden administration. So it's like both administrations were reaping the benefits of it, but at the same time, the Biden administration reaped the benefits more. And if they wanted to correct it, they could have. But at the same time, it was Trump's plan in his first term, so to speak. So it's a lot of nuance, and my thing is too. I think Elon Musk has a lot to do with it too as well. But at the same time, he did lose $100 billion from the what past month or so because of the tariffs and whatnot. So I think it's a multi-layered thing, and given with Trump, it's just you don't know what you don't. I'm not saying you don't know what you get, but it's just like a lot of nuance to it. So but then at the same time, also too as well, that household income increased not just under Trump administration, but other past administrations under even Obama. The taxes increased for each household $200 to $300 annually since like 2013. So it kept going and going, and now they say projected to be by the end of 2025, each household income can pay like $2,500. So there's just like a multitude of things that happen, not just in one administration, but it's like you going through. When I was doing my research, it was like I was going through a rabbit hole. I'm like, yo, this didn't even start under Trump. It went further back, like 2 administrations back. So it's like I think each administration is trying to rectify the situation, but one administration stopped and the other administration tried to pick up off on it, because even Biden tried to pick up off on it in last year in 2025, but in 2023. So it's like people with I think certain parties was trying to do it, try to make it known, but I think Trump is out there in the forefront. It's like, hey, no, this is not right. But other administrations try to do it behind the scenes. So I don't know, G Wiz, and you probably want to elaborate on
the whole
more,
point of
what your take is on it
the
and whatnot.
tariffs is you have to go back to World War II in regards to tariffs. The whole point of the tariff was to give countries their economy back on full footing. And so what was happening is that the United States, we were being tariffed in order, essentially being taxed in order to get those countries back on full footing. But what Trump is saying is that was after World War II. Your economies are up and yeah. Your economy is up and running right now.
Stable, up and running.
There's no reason to be over taxing us for our goods 60, 70 years later. So that it doesn't make any sense to him. And so what he's saying is that everything has to be fair. And I don't fault him for that. And that's where essentially that's where he is. As far as Canada is concerned, only 1% of the fentanyl is coming from Canada. The majority of the fentanyl that's killing Americans in the United States is coming from the southern border, and but he's not gonna lay off on this. He said before that I'm dead strong on this. This is what I believe, and he's not gonna let it go. And it's going to be, as far as the economy is concerned, the stock market it's going to take a little bit of a hit. We've felt it, we've seen it, but for the most part, we've seen it. But he's thinking it's kind of like China. China thinks 100 years ahead. We're thinking long term. Trump is thinking he's thinking long term. I'm not thinking about today. I'm not thinking about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm thinking about March, April, and May. That's what he's thinking. And that's where he's going with it. That's why he's not going to let it go. And so whether you like Trump or not, that's his strategy, and we'll just see where it goes from there. But it's hard for me.
I can understand. Yeah, I was gonna say I can understand the the tariffs with China and Mexico, but I'm still trying to comprehend Canada. I mean, it doesn't make, if you look at the numbers,
Well,
it doesn't make
Canada,
a whole lot of sense. you know, so because I mean, look, even uh, the trade in the auto sector is balanced between both of us.
Yeah, I did read that.
Even so, I don't get, I don't know where he's pulling numbers from. I mean, if you look at the U.S. Census Bureau, the numbers are all right there. So it doesn't make sense. I don't know what the end game is with Canada. Other countries I understand, but Canada, why our closest ally? I think it's something more underhanded.
Yeah, it could have been a snide
Strategic
comment. It could have been a comment. It could have been a snide comment that one of somebody from dignitary from Canada said when his first administration, because Trump is petty. He's certain stuff he'll hold you. He'll take it with okay, you say something about him in like 2015, he gonna hold on to it and hold a grudge against that to this day. But
Well,
that's what I'm thinking with Canada.
Trump he's
but
made
I
it
could be
no
wrong.
he's been very upfront and clear that he used tariffs as a way to get his way. But according to him, he says he's doing it for what's best for the United States, and I take him for his word. If you look at his first administration, it worked, and here we are in his second administration. That's what he's trying. Now, Canada and Mexico are different. We have to look at uh, uh, China completely different. They're a completely different animal. So the tariffs on uh, Mexico and Canada, that's one thing. China is a different animal.
China's like,
China
yeah,
is a
you want to
different
tax? We're gonna tax. We're gonna tax. You want
It's
to
not.
tax
It's
us
not.
25%?
It's
We're
not
gonna
just
tax
about.
you
It's not
25%.
just about
We may do
tariffs.
30.
Yeah,
Oh no,
we're
they
talking
talking
about
about
something
like
else.
they talking about other stuff too as
But
well. Because I've seen
I think
the
ultimately it's
yeah,
going to
they
resolve
like
itself because if thinking about Ontario, um, they were talking about a 25% tax on electricity to the United States. Ter- Trump said, "Well, you know what? This 25% tariff, I'm going to increase it to 50. We're going to double that." The same day they called the White House and said, "You know what? Let's think twice about that. We're not going to do that." And so he got his way. He used tariffs as a way to say, yeah, it was a bargaining chip.
a
That's
bargaining
exactly
chip.
what it was. And they said, because
But
ultimately, look, they can't, Canada is huge as it is. I'm in California right now. It's huge. It's huge as
they're the
it's
stepbrother.
huge as
They're the
California.
stepbrother.
I mean, as Canada is. It's 41 million people. I'm in California. We have 36 million people. Our economy is bigger than theirs. They can't. They cannot afford a trade war with us.
Just a
They
state
can't do
alone.
it. They can't afford it. Neither can Mexico.
And then I think too, on top of that too, I think for us with even us in U.S. citizens entering the country, it's hard to get into Canada sometimes. Like they have strict rules for us with the Americans getting in, but the other way around, flip side, Canadians can come over here like it ain't nothing. Just sort work visa, school visa, or they just come in and it's like even I'm just even going off like artists. They may have a not even a felony charge, but a misdemeanor. They can't even get into Canada, get denied. So it's like I think part of that has to play into too as well, as far as with this the immigration status too as well. So it's like, well, hey, we let we let your people come in here freely, less red tape, but with us, we go over there. It's like we get stopped at the border. When I say us, I'm talking about Americans. I'm not just talking about black folks. Like you get stopped at the border, X, Y, and Z. You got to have this and that. You got to have a clean record to get into that country. And so I think part of that has to come into play too as well. It's like, hey, well, hold up. You're reaping our benefits coming over here. We let y'all welcome y'all with open arms, but at the same time, you trying to tax us on top of that. So I get that part. I guess part of that as well. You know what too? Yo, him, I think too, because was it Prime Minister of who was it? I think of Toronto. He said some stuff. It came to mind. He said some stuff about Trump.
Trudeau or
Yeah,
Trudeau or
yeah. He said he was going in on Trump the first term.
But
So I think part of that has something to do
they
with
can't
that.
afford to do it.
I just
Their economy is not big enough to absorb a trade war with the United States. It's just not big enough.
And I think
well,
Trump was looking at
they pulled American liquor off their shelves, and I want to say I think the CEO
Mm-hmm.
Jack Daniels spoke out about that, and he said, no sales is worse than a tariff. He said,
yeah.
in building back consumer trust, that's worse than a tariff. He's like, we'd rather have the tariff than our products pulled off the
shell.
shells, because now Canadians they're gravitating more toward
But that's
their more
Canadian, man.
homegrown products or what,
what tariffs is for.
getting that.
That's what that's the flip side of that, I think, too, because what I think that's what Trump, well, I don't know if he's trying to do that, but say buy American, but at the same time we got a
Tariff,
lot of exports, so
Yeah,
go ahead.
but we got a lot.
No, the whole point of a tariff is you
No,
you
you go
you
ahead. Yeah,
want
go ahead.
you want to buy, you want your citizens to buy the local products. There's a reason that a Harley Davidson costs one hundred
First,
fifty
right.
thousand dollars, for instance. In India,
because
where you get another motorcycle out there that costs less than half that. What are they going to buy? What are they going to buy? They're going to buy what's been
Mhm.
built there locally. The whole point of that's what the tariffs is for.
Yeah, just like it's cheaper to buy a Mercedes in Germany than it is here.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
Like our homie Will, he went to France. He asked me what you want. I said, man, give me some, at the time, give me some Hennessy. He got me some Hennessy Privilege. He went to Cognac, France, and bought a Hennessy Privilege, a bottle of that. He paid like maybe $25, but here it costs like maybe $75 to $80. So,
Hmm.
so I was like, dang, which is, I get it, but I think America, we got a lot of imports coming out. A lot of our goods are imported. And I think he's trying to reverse it, but I think
It's not
it's not going to be a
It's like
quick fix. So I think he's looking long term.
it's like turning
It's not going to be
a cruise ship around. You can't do it on a dime. It's going to take some time if you're going to go in the other direction.
yeah, because they're going to pass it down. But when I was doing the research on that, the task force, they said like it was like by 2034 we should be on track. If it stays like this, as far as with the tariffs and stuff, like if his initial plan is by 2034, everything should be on track. Of course, we're gonna pay for it right now. He's like, because even right now, he's like, it's like $1,800 this year alone. The debt ratio impacted that we'll be on an even playing field with other countries, as far as with us being how they taxing us. So it's gonna take it's gonna take 10 years.
I don't know if American voters can wait that long.
Yeah,
And that's the
yeah,
issue.
yeah. No, I don't think they can either, being that we still trying to recover from the pandemic. So it's like that's gonna be that would be a conundrum, so to speak. So it's like damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because either if we stay at the status quo, say if we get rid of it, like say if he renege on his deal as far as with the tariffs, then they may hold a grudge like, hey, you know what, y'all try to tax us, so you know what, we're going to add another 10%, and then it may go back to square one. We're like, yo, y'all adding this 10%. Trump like, you know what, I'm gonna double it up again. So it's like it's a game of cat and mouse, I guess, so to speak. Especially with China, I wouldn't want to be personally. I was like, I will hold off on China, but that's just me. Other countries, because I think he look at the USA. It's like, okay, we got Mexico, we got Canada. We the big brothers, we the big dogs on campus when it comes to North America. Ain't no way in hell we should be taxing y'all even more because y'all reaping the benefits from us. So that's what I think his rationale is. It doesn't help that I don't even say it's Mexico really, because you really got to look at Central America, because a lot of immigrants are coming from Central America and then funneling through Mexico, and they just just coming through the U.S.
Yeah, Guatemala and Honduras and all those countries.
Yeah. So it's not really, I don't really think it's just Mexico per se, but it's
Yeah. But
it's a head scratcher.
but I think if the U.S. if we created more trading partners, man, I think that would help. Just the other day, the Queen, I can't remember her full name, but the Queen of Nigeria,
I seen
she's
that.
been
Yeah.
touring. She was in Georgia. She's
Yeah.
doing a tour of the United States and trying to create, open up the bridge for trade and businesses and everything between the two countries,
Yeah.
whatever.
Because she had met with
But
Governor Kemp too. She had met with him. Yeah, I
yeah,
seen that. I seen that. That'd be pretty dope. And
hmm
I think too, far as with a lot of states, I can't speak about California, but I know with even Georgia, like Kemp, he meets with China, he meets with representative of China, like far as with getting Kia, because he just opened up the Kia auto, the automobile factory. It's like in West Georgia, west of Atlanta. And something else they're trying to. I think they broke ground this year. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they broke ground this year, and it's going to create like close to like 1,500 jobs. So, I think it'll be. I don't know, man. This when it comes to this tariff stuff, it's like
It's worked.
It's like a loop.
If you think about it, he's been in office for 7 weeks now, and we're looking at $2 trillion of private industry that's going to be invested in the United States. That's going to open up tens of thousands of jobs in the United States, which is ultimately that's what he's looking to do, to create jobs in the United States. They said back in 2010 that we would never have manufacturing jobs come back to the United States. Well, he's proved that wrong. Now, I don't care whether you like Trump or not, but what he's using tariffs for is working. You don't have to vote for him, but I'm saying his strategy seems to be legitimate. And you look at the oracles of the world, SoftBank. They're putting billions of dollars into the economy, and so what he's looking to do seems to be working.
Yeah,
and you don't have to like him.
Yeah, because I'm saying that's why it's like it's kind of hard because it was working, but I think it took it did take a downturn in like the late 2019 because I don't know if because of pandemic because the tax was getting raised, expecting as far as with the economic output of it, but it got lowered. So I don't know if that was because of the pandemic, everything got shut down, or what.
The pandemic, you have to look at that.
I'm safe to say
what the history is going to look at that a little bit differently in terms of how you measure economic output. The pandemic was that's something that's we're going to have a serious problem with that going as far as history. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying because those numbers can be skewed because like the economic output was lower, but at the same time everybody was inside for at least from 2020 to like 2022, and we started to make a little bit turn. I would say even like early 2024, late 2023. Like everybody was like, feel confident and everything.
Yeah, actually, those tariffs didn't help the economy at all. I mean, and this is just public information and numbers, and you look at the Congressional Budget Office, the trade deficit actually grew with his tariffs when he was in office. It grew by 119 billion, reaching 621 billion, the highest it's been since 2008.
Yeah.
So he said his tariffs did little to nothing. So it really didn't help the economy.
We've had a trade deficit for decades, have we not?
We have, but he grew it even further.
No.
Yeah. And
are we talking about his first presidency or?
But always.
I'm talking about the U.S. Trade deficit. We tend to bring in 50 plus $billion in trade, but the output is like it's like 360 billion.
Excuse me.
So if you compound year after year after year, that's adding to the $36 trillion that we have in our debt. And so that's what he's trying to correct. Now, look, he's playing a dangerous game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The game is really
Huh?
Stu, what do you have to say about that? Stu, Stu.
Yo.
Whatever.
Yeah, we a little technical difficulty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, not sure what happened with Sue.
Yeah.
But with General Mills, but anyway, um, let's move on.
Yeah,
And
so
what you got on
we
it?
need to do the
Let's see. What's that?
we got the tip.
Oh, okay.
Oh no,
I couldn't.
so
Oh, okay.
deaf. I got
Word.
the hoodie and that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm feeling that. I'm
Yeah,
feeling that.
it got
Yeah,
the whole state colors. That's yeah. I
yeah,
got this
yeah.
during the matter of fact during the pandemic and stuff. So we don't talk excuse me. We don't talk about the whatchamacallit. I heard that Kemp was running though. Kemp was running for senator.
He might be. I don't know, man.
He may win that. I can see that, but we gotta do the speaking of Kemp, as far as his wife is a former teacher, we was talking about the Department of Education. As far as what they laid off close to like 5,000 people. And I told you, we was talking earlier. My mom called me, was like, hey, you getting laid off? I'm like, nah, we ain't, in fact, I'm locally, as far as what, but some have turned in their resignation already. Like as soon as he stepped into office, he had to, they had to turn in their resignation, and also affecting the VA hospital. I was watching the news. This guy, his name is Nelson Ortiz, and he became high. He was he was ranked in the military, high rank. I want to say he was a captain, and then he worked for the VA hospital. And he just got promoted to HR. He was like an on-site cyber tech manager. He became HR. As soon as Trump gave him office, he was like he had to turn in his resignation, and so accordingly, the federal judge, matter of fact, out in California, said, "Hey, this is unconstitutional. You got to give them their jobs back." But I heard the Trump administration is going to file an appeal, and he was the guy. He was like Nelson Ortiz, like I work for I work at the VA. It's probably gonna take months, maybe years, before I get my job back. He's like 61 years old, and it's just a whole, he's like, it's going to be a whole mess. And he's like, I just, I'm a decorated veteran X, Y, and Z, and here we are. But I blame that. I think that's Elon Musk doing. It is Elon Musk doing.
So how do y'all feel about the whole, Department of Education being dismantled? How do you feel?
I have
What is your
no.
feeling behind it?
Look, me personally, I've said 15 years ago, I thought the Department of Education should be dismantled, but it's not the only department. We spend more per pupil than any other country in the world, but the results that we get back are abysmal. And there's a case there's literally a case where a student in Connecticut is suing. I think her local I don't know if it's he or she, but they're suing their local uh, district because they were allowed to graduate with honors, but were illiterate. So what they're doing is they're passing these kids through, um, even though they can't read, write, and do math. And the Department of Education was started in 1980, and it's done nothing but get since then. It's done nothing but get our kids worse and worse and worse. Let's just get it back to the states and let them run it, and let the money follow the student. I believe. Look, if you do you want your kids to go to the best schools available? That's what every parent wants to do, and let the money follow the student. And so I believe in that. And if they can go to
So you think they should privatize education?
It's not privatizing.
But that's
It's
going to be a
just
lot
taking
of
it to the
nuance to that
states.
because that's going to be. But see,
But that's what the states are going to do, though. They're
It's gonna,
privatizing education.
Then
That's what the school
let
vouchers are
let
for.
the money
it's
let the money
just a lot of
follow
nuance to
the
that because.
students. If you, I don't think you
But see,
should.
this
That's
I
not
what
don't
that,
think
this
that's
you,
not
what
how
I
that
don't think
works.
you should be
go ahead.
punished because you live in a poor school district. Let your kid go to a school that allows them to learn, and because you
But see, that's what this is what I'm gonna tell you about that. So, for instance, what I ain't gonna say- so with the school system where I'm at, like to get rid of the Department of Education. So if they get rid of it, what's going to happen is I'm in the inclusion classroom. So what's going to happen is you're going to get children going to be put in those classrooms where the needs won't be able to met. So whether they be autistic or have a learning disability, they're going to be in that classroom without the supported needs and be left up to the state. So we don't even know what the state rules may abide by. They say, you know what, you got to do it yourself. You got to teach these kids that we don't may have the background or the resources to teach them. So they may be in a class where you may have children that are Einsteins, but you may have children that may have a learning disability be in the same classroom with them, and they don't have to meet the necessary needs to support them to function. Then on the flip side of that too, as well, like say you got a city like I'm gonna tell you school like Decatur City school system, small school system. It's separate from Decatur, downtown Decatur and all that. So what they're trying to do now is quote unquote, they're trying to privatize because the city of Decatur school schools, like the average median income for a family that goes to that school is like $250 and above, $250,000 and above. So they want to make it privatized. They want to make it school privatized, but you got kids that live in like say you got kids that live up for North Druid Hills. For all those who's watching, that's like it's like a medium income indicator. They may go to city school system, but their parents only make maybe $50,000-$60,000, but they in the school system where other children parents are doctors and lawyers and make $250 and above. So if they privatize that, they talking about they want to make a tuition where it's $8,000 a year. So that child that was in that city's K school system may have to go to DeKalb County, may have to go to a DeKalb County school system where they may, I ain't gonna say they may not get the best education that we're getting at the city Decatur school system, all because they can't afford it. But they live in the school district of the city of Decatur. So that's why it can get real tricky where a lot of people could get left behind at the
it
same
sounds like you're
time.
agreeing with me that you shouldn't be punished simply because you live in a certain district.
No, you shouldn't be punished.
You shouldn't be punished, but you will be punished. That's the problem.
Okay, let me ask you
if
this:
they get rid of the
what
Department of
does the
Education, you will be
Department of
punished.
Education do exactly? We have since the
First of all,
creation of the
go
Department of
ahead.
Education, test scores for kids have gone down since then. We at the bottom. What do they do exactly?
The bottom compared to who? I was gonna say compared to the rest of the world, or yeah, if you want to say that, yeah, I think that's just overall, just not even education. I just think that as a country as a
Yeah,
whole,
then what
we
is
are
the
behind.
Department of
Even though
Education
maybe like
doing?
we are a superpower, but we are behind a lot of stuff. But it was so funny you said that because Tommy Tuberville said, we should get rid of it. He's like, let each state do what they own. Meanwhile,
Well,
Alabama's
what I'm
ranked
saying,
47th, and they've
prior to
been
the
there for
Department of
years.
Education, we were at the
So,
top. Since the Department of Education, we're at the bottom. What are they doing?
and that's a lot of new, because if we would say since 1980, and since we can talk about this, since 1980, the Department of Education has been formed, and they was at the top
It's at the
before
top,
then.
though. Black people wasn't at the top.
That's what I said. Black people, because we was really fresh out of the Jim Crow civil rights era, because that was like what 64, 65. We went to 80. It was like really 16, 15 years removed from that. Then you can count the Vietnam War and all that stuff. So it's like it may benefited white folks and maybe other people, but as far as with black folks, it didn't benefit us. So I think that's why the Department of Education was created, to make an even playing field, so to speak. But which in all truth, we still playing catch up. But I think the Department of Education is given a set of guidelines, because even with testing, first of all, it's a rollout every year. It's a money scheme, money grab, as far as with either it's on a local level, national level, or the state level, because there's certain things that incorporate. Testing changes every year, as far as with education. I've been firsthand witness that. It's a new rollout plan that's going to take place next year that they implemented right now. So it's like it's not how we grew up, where we just take the CRT, the Colgate, what is the other test? Like it was like that in the 80s, and then it constantly changed to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. So it's personally,
I mean,
go ahead.
go ahead, finish your point.
No, I just said personally, if it was left up to the state, I would say this: I wouldn't have no. As far as I'm speaking for Georgia, I ain't speaking for no best. And now a lot of people have their feelings about Kemp, but as far as with education, as far as I seen it firsthand, I experienced it. What Kemp has done to implement, I'm like, okay, because his wife was a school teacher, I think she's always in his ear, because even with just little simple stuff, it was like he wants to raise the salary of teachers to like $100,000. That's what he wants. That's what it was on his plans. Even if he makes room for a budget, he always makes sure he has a set a bonus for us with teachers. We got a state bonus and we got a city bonus. Like it was crazy. Like we got bonuses. Like he implemented that, but like no, I'm just saying. Like, I'm just saying education.
But the flip side of that, because I work for a nonprofit, and a lot of our programs we insert in the schools. So when we go to these schools, if it's not a charter school, if it's a Title I school, they can't afford us because of Trump's budget. Because he's paid the teachers, but he's taking stuff away too. Like he took away a lot of staff members or whatnot. So now the teachers are overburdened with either paperwork or students or whatever the case may be or whatnot. Or they have to take other programs away.
And that's to your point. It's a
double-edged sword.
It's because to your point on that with the students, because so in the third grade, starts with I'm telling you what, as far as with school system, so from third grade on up, you can have the maximum up to 34 students with just one teacher. Now from K through from pre-K from K through 2, you can have upwards up to 24 students. So 34 students. I seen teach. I know a teacher. Seen 4th grade. She started the school year with 18 students. Now she has 29 by herself. 4th graders, and it could go up to 34. And she's looked burnt out, and she's about to quit. And it's like I see in the 4th grade, so a high turnover rate in 4th grade. The 4th grade boys with teachers. So I give you right on that, him, because of where it will. That's like a double-edged sword on that. So it's like, and then it's not enough money in the budget to have 2 teachers in the classroom. So it's real tricky.
So are we going back to Trump's first term in terms of what's going on in the classrooms, or we're going to where are we going with this in terms of what's happening in the classrooms?
No, I'm just saying, as far as with the Department of Education, him getting rid of it or whatever, it could be detrimental. It could be do more harm than good. But at the same time, it's unknown.
If you think about it,
it could be unknown. It could.
Yeah, I think should there be changes in the Department of Education? Yes, there should be changes or whatever. Should it be getting rid of altogether without a real plan? No, because privatizing education, that's not a plan. More and more students will get even left behind even further. You know, that's what I'm saying. We don't know what that plan is, but we know for sure this is not the plan, because if you're going to leave students behind where they can't afford the education, because pretty much states can take all the resources from one neighborhood
and put it
and place it in another neighbor in a
affluent neighborhood.
Yeah,
put it in Buckhead.
Let's say
put it in Buckhead.
Yeah, so that neighborhood is left with zero resources. And that kid
Mhm.
from let's just say Southwest Atlanta, that kid from Southwest Atlanta can't afford to go to the school over in Buckhead or wherever.
No,
You
no,
know what I'm saying?
no,
So they're
no.
stuck where they're at. You know, and they even have less
What they're
resources
saying is that
than they do now.
we're going to give parents money to send your kids to these schools. You don't have to send them to your local school.
Yeah,
That sounds good in
Okay,
theory. That
that sounds
sounds
good in
okay.
good in
theory, but
Let's
theory.
it
look at
don't
it
work
like
like
this.
that.
Let's look at it like this. We have data. We have data
It-
prior to 1980 and Jimmy Carter creating the Department of Education. Right? We know what the data. You can say, well, blacks. This. Okay, fine. We know where the United States ranked as far as education in terms of reading, writing, and math prior to the creation of the Department of Education. We were number one. Since then, we're butt last. What is the Department of Education doing? What he's saying is that I want to take the Department of Education, get rid of it, put the money with the parents, and let the money follow the students. If you live in a part of Atlanta, let's say, or out here, if I a part of let's say Compton or whatever, um, if you're a parent, you shouldn't, simply because you live in that district doesn't mean your kid needs to go there. You don't need to do that, and let the money follow the student. And I just, the thing that gets me is that I don't understand why this whole government bloat thing needs to exist anyway.
What
Government
do you
bloat
mean
means
government
that
blows?
the government
Elaborate
keeps
on that. What are
growing
you
and
talking about?
growing
Government
and
blow.
growing. We got these government programs that don't do anything.
Oh.
And we have, in terms of, let's say, employment, the government doesn't create anything. They don't produce anything. Private industry does that. And so, uh, for every government job that's that the person that's created, it takes away from private employment per se, where production is done. But to keep this just on terms of education, I don't want to get in terms of economics and things like that, but just to keep this on education, um, we have data before the the Department of Education and after the Department of Education, and the data shows we don't need it. Should it be scrapped? Maybe, maybe not. Should it be? Should we shrink it to the point to where the states have more say over uh, 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 or I want parent rights. I think, um, Rod, you got a young kid. You want him to have the best education. I would suspect you want him to have the best education,
Yeah.
and you would send him
Oh yeah.
anywhere where that
Yeah.
education
Yeah.
is available.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely. My thing is, I don't have no problem. Look, I don't have no problem. If you want to get rid of the Department of Education and leave it up to the state, I don't have no problem with that. But at the same time, I'm looking like, for us, was like say Trump said, I'm gonna give each family X amount of dollars for X amount of whatever years for your child from
Mm-hmm.
like say kindergarten to high school. So this their money, a lot of money, where they go to whatever school they choice. This the best school. Say for instance, I live in Atlanta, but it's South Fulton. All right, we're gonna do this school right here. Say when my son go to high school, he'll be going to dang
Yeah.
what school Cam went
Cam
to?
Newton.
High school he went to. It's so bad, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm say Grady Christian Academy. Say we're talking about Grady Christian Academy. So the tuition there is like save us like maybe $10,000 a year. So we're gonna set aside $40,000 for your child to go, but we're gonna base it off of inflation. So if it goes up, this is a lot of money that go to him. You live in that district, fine. But at the same time, do I trust him to say we're gonna? That's the whole thing. Do I trust this administration, or do I? Where he can put it into law where okay, you live in this district, this is a lot of money for your son to go to this school. Do I trust him for that? No. If it was in there president, I probably wouldn't trust him either. But at the same time, it's like, if it's like written into law, like say for instance, like, okay, you got to pay me. The law says I got to be paid $7.25 for minimum wage, which I think, by the way, is low. So it's in law. So that's what, if it's written in law that, okay, my child, he's going to
25.
That's crazy, ain't it? That's crazy.
Yeah.
If it's written in law, say, okay, your child is, he is, what is it, privileged? What is it? Has a right to have the best. I think that should be a born American right. Your child, or anybody should get the best education it should be, because we're supposed to be the land of free, home, and the brave. Granted, there should be some stipulations around that. Like, if you out here committing crimes and all that, like, that's out the window. But if you are law-abiding citizens, you should have the right to the best education, the best health care, X, Y, and Z. But do I trust this guy? No, I don't, because he'll change his mind like that. So that's why I'm leery on that. As far as if you want to get rid of the Department of Education, fine. But if you want to leave it up to, if it be states' rights for us with that, I'm using the term loosely, like, okay, the governor was okay. If you want to put it to us, okay, each state, it's a law that if a family has a child or multiple children, they have to have the best education, whatever it's part of the city they live in.
Yeah. I mean, I agree that changes need to be made, but probably not in as drastic as it is now. And honestly, I'm looking at it, and for a fact check, U.S. student ranks didn't plummet after the Department of Education was created. That's not true. And honestly, there's not even a test to actually measure student achievement in the U.S.
I'm talking about
So
we're
that's totally false. And because that was based on a meme by Elon Musk saying that student
no. I'm
achievement
not.
plummet when
I'm not
Jimmy
saying Jimmy
Carter
Carter had anything to do
was in office.
with test scores plummeting. In fact, we can leave. We can leave Elon. Yeah, yeah. I'm talking
You
about
just talk about the years.
1980 to now. It's a matter of fact. Let's not even talk about 1980. Let's talk world.
Okay, so hold on. Let me read this to you guys. All right, hold on. Let me read this to you real quick. All right. There's no evidence to support the claim. While multiple studies have compared U.S. students to their peers in other countries, none show that they ranked first in 1979, nor do they say they ranked 24th in 2024. There isn't a definitive way to rank a country's education quality, but multiple studies show results contrary to the trend claimed in that post by Elon. Matter of fact, Martin Carnoy, a professor at Stanford's Graduate School of Education, told USA Today that the claim is completely inaccurate. These are very rough comparisons, but it can be said that U.S. middle school and secondary students have always done poorly on international tests of mathematics compared to students in other developed countries, and have done better in science and reading. So many U.S. adults believe the country is either average or below average at teaching students science and technology, engineering, and math, according to a Pew Research Center survey released in April.
So what you're saying is that
So
the education system in the United States is perfect. It's good. Everything is hunky dory. Is what you're saying.
I'm I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But I'm dismissing your claim to saying that we ranked first before the Department of Education. That's not true. There's no test. There's no test. There's no test to even say that. There's no facts to even say that. So, but what I am saying, does the department need to change? Yes, but is privatizing the answer? I don't think it is. There may be. I mean, I think all avenues need to be explored, and I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what that is or what that can look like.
What you're saying is that, based on studies, wherever these studies, who produces these studies, are you saying that United States pupils are we the middle of the pack, and we're not dead last? Where do we rank? because the studies say that we're ranked dead last. So are you saying that these studies? By the way, this goes back years.
Are,
Every
are you talking about all
every
the
country.
countries, or are you just talking about like, what are you talking about, like any country?
I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is there there is there is no actual fact that we rank number one before Department of Education, which you stated. And there's no fact to that.
Um,
And I just sent you all the article.
Yeah,
So
I
you can
seen
look
that.
that up yourself. So there's no actual fact to that. What am I saying? I'm not saying that the Department of Education is perfect. I'm not saying that by any measures. We know it's got issues. All I'm saying is I don't think privatizing education is the most sensible answer. Again, you're going to
the
leave students
Department of
behind.
Education hasn't proved it just hasn't proven that it's going to be the solution to kids falling behind in terms of our education. It hasn't. There's nothing there's literally nothing that's happened since the Department of Education that says that we need it.
So how is privatizing education going to help a student that can't afford to go to the school? Because money is not going to reach every student.
What I'm asking
That
you is,
doesn't happen.
what is the
I mean,
department?
and not only that.
Yeah.
Say for example, I live in Douglasville, right?
Mhm.
Say I live in Douglasville, but I wanted to go to a school all the way in Gwinnett, but I don't have the transportation to get there. How am I going to get there?
Because the bus is not going to do it. The bus,
It,
you know,
you
they
have
Yeah.
do the busing.
options.
They're
You
not
have
going to, because we don't have the
options.
funding.
What,
What options? My parents don't have a car. The
but what
bus
is the
line didn't
Department of
take me
Education?
there.
The
There's
Department
no
of
school bus
Education
to
does
take
not
me
even
to the
fix that.
school.
Well, they did that. They did have the busing. That's what they did. The Department of Education did provide busing and
What is
vouchers. They have that. Actually, they did have that. I'm just saying. This is what I'm just saying. As far as what, look, I agree with both sides. As far as what the Department of Education has to fix itself, but at the same time, that did have an option for us with the whole busing system, where like, well, a bus will literally pick you up, where if you lived in a certain side of town, and provide you to go to one of the best schools, as far as whatever part of the city or state you lived in. You know, that's what happened with the happened in Boston when they did the busing thing. But it's look, Gary, G Wiz, you far as with I agree with far as with like the Department of Education has to fix itself. But I don't necessarily. I'm with him. I don't necessarily say you get rid of the whole thing, because I've seen where. Well, I know it's going to affect the classroom if you get rid of it, because you're going to have children in classrooms that don't need to be in the classroom with other children, and it's going to affect it, and it's going to weigh on the teachers. I trust me, it's going to happen, because if you leave it up to the state, they don't care. They don't look at. I seen it firsthand. They don't look at as far as with each child as far as with their learning ability or disability, and they'll put it on, but they just look at numbers. That's all they do is look at numbers. Okay, like you got a child that may pass, they may not do good on tests. I mean, do good in the classroom, but they may ace the test. But in the classroom, they couldn't even write a full sentence. Trust me, I'm telling you. But they getting tested to be in a gifted class. But at the same time,
that
they
goes
can't even write a
said
full
before? I
sentence,
mean,
because everything now is. But see, but this is what I'm saying, because now it's technology. So they on the iPad. They're on their iPad, they hitting answers. And they may get it right. They may get it right in the whim, but they go through the procedure. Like they have to, it's a protocol where they have to go through and test them to see if they're in the gifted child. But we know they're not supposed to be in there. But then not saying they get put in that gifted class. They test them to see if they get put in there. They may fail it. They may fail it and they get put back in that
the
class. But it's
Department of
like,
all
it's,
I have to go back with
I'm,
the
I'm
Department of Education is look. I'm just gonna put it out there. I think it's for teachers. For me it's for teachers unions. And what they did to kids and shutting down these schools, um, and the Department of Education was full board with this during the pandemic and shutting down these schools, keeping these kids out of these classrooms. Man, I don't know. Are these kids?
But you know what schools they were shutting down though? You know what schools they were shutting down though? The schools are getting shut down. Well, I can't speak for every city or whatever. The schools are getting shut down a lot. Was a predominantly black neighborhood, especially here in Atlanta, and was walking distance. They was getting shut down a lot.
What?
As a matter of fact, they shutting down like
I
two
wasn't
more.
in Atlanta then. I didn't live in Atlanta then. I had moved by then. But
I'm talking about like now. I'm just
you
talking
know
about
what?
now.
You may
I'm
be
talking
right.
about
So I
recently,
can't dispute that.
like,
what I'm saying is that the Department of Education was full tilt boogie on board with shutting these schools down and keeping these kids out of the classroom and forcing them to do what we're doing right now, learn remotely, and you can't learn that way.
with well, you know what part of that? Because you know what's so crazy about that? Because I had, I've been I was trying to get into this one private school for years, and they sent me things like, "Hey, you want to come back?" This is like in 2021. It's like, "Hey, I was like, "No, it's part of the team." It's like, "Why am I go?" Because you got to mind, you got to, I guess I got to put myself to remind myself. People were literally dying from COVID. I'm like, I'm not about to risk myself go back into no school system making $20 an hour. You know what I'm saying? I'm just throwing out a number, $20 an hour. I could potentially get COVID and you know what I'm saying? And it's not worth it. And a lot of teachers say it's not worth it. You got to pay me more than that. And hence is where teachers weren't going back. It's like, no, I'll find me another job somewhere else where I can work from home. And then it did affect the students and it affect the teachers as well. So hence where if you ain't got teachers in the schools, we got to shut it down because nobody want to work. You got to, again, it goes back to really pay. As far as with your community help, like I'm talking like community helpers, like far as with teachers, firefighters, police officers, so yada yada. If they make
It comes down to pay and safety.
yes,
That's what a lot of teachers talk
I
about:
would agree.
pay and safety.
safety, yeah.
I
Look,
think
I'm
I
saying,
think
look,
teachers are grossly
no, go
underpaid.
ahead.
I don't know if they can earn enough. To be honest with you, and good teachers, by the way, because you know that there are bad teachers out there. Yeah. So
If the pay for if you vet it. Let me cut you off. If you vet it, you could the max like right now, like say if you vet, you put in like maybe damn near 20-something years. You know what the max is for that? As far as with here,
I
it's
think
like
that's grossly
65,000.
underpaid.
That's crazy. It all depends. Sometimes you come in after,
Yeah.
but look, it's so I don't know. But I know we gotta.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think. I don't think there's a clear cut answer.
Yeah.
I mean, there needs to be changes, but I think it needs to be more thought out or whatever.
We
And I think it's one of those things where it's never going to be a clear cut answer. It's just never going to be because there's too many different sides to it, and too many different fashions,
It's a lot of nuance.
and people want this, people want that. People want to use their money for their neighborhoods, things like that. So
Yeah.
it's just it's never going to be clear cut.
Yeah, because in the state of New York, I got my homegirl of mine. She's she teaches down here, but she's moving to New York. You got to have a master's degree to teach in New York elementary school, but the pay is not equivalent to having a master's degree. Like that's
Really?
so crazy. No,
yeah.
Wow.
that's
Didn't know that.
crazy. That's crazy.
I didn't know that.
Now, if you want to have a master, if you say require me to have a master's degree to teach, which I'm cool with, but if my pay is like the same, no, that's like you asking Phil Jackson to come coach the New Orleans Pelicans, but you only giving him $5 million. He's like, bro, you know how decorated I am? Like I'm not doing that. You got to match what I went to school for. So, yeah,
him wanting to shut Trump wanting to shut the Department of Education is not new. Reagan wanted to do it 2 years after it was open. He wanted to shut it down when he got into office. He said, we don't need this. This is ridiculous. No,
That's
Reagan
not
wanted
true.
to shut
It's needed in some form of fashion. No, you know why the Department of Education was created? It was to enforce, so students wouldn't be discriminated like me and
Brown
you.
versus Board
That,
of Education.
yeah,
That was
There's
Brown
you know what I'm saying.
because
There's a lot of
they was trying to
discrimination and fund,
there's a
and
whole
also funding, equal funding.
there's a
So
whole
because
it
really
is
it's
needed in
different.
some ways.
there's a whole
Because Gary, I
We
mean,
there's a
benefited
host of
from
things
that.
throughout there's
you
a
was
host
it.
of things throughout history
No, go ahead.
that was started with good intentions, but what they ended up being was something totally different. And that's what we're dealing with the Department of Education.
Well, I think that's what I think that's what he was saying, because with Brown versus Board of Education, like even before that, it's like what separate but not separate but equal. But then they found a way behind that, and they stand for Brown versus Board of Education. Hey, up, you said separate but equal, but we're not getting the education's not equal to what our white counterparts are getting, and that's why.
Yeah, education was terrible.
So that's why the Board of Education like, hold up, the Brown versus Board of Education. That when that happened, and then we come to find out we integrated schools, but then well, we integrated schools, and then white flight took off, or we was right. So it's like, hold up, we got to make it an even playing field still. So it was still a constant fight. So I say that for another topic. I think everything is I know everything is tied to racism. Everything is tied to racism.